How do I send this? Okay. Hmm. Um, Arthur and Aaron, do you guys mind sending me your email via Slack for Gmail? I want to give you guys edit access to something. All right, make sure everyone pulls. All right. Also, tomorrow I'm getting drunk, and I'll then be doing a review session. That's an excellent question. So it's going to be, at the same time. No. I have to, actually, I love drunk history. So I'm getting drunk in the afternoon to evening, and then in the evening is when I'll probably be doing this. 100%, yeah. This will be a lot of fun, actually. I'm really excited. Huh? Yeah, actually, that would be my first one. All right, yeah, this is gonna be fun. Yeah, all right. I'll have my faculties in check, somewhat. Most likely 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding the TAs to this check. And what this is going to do is I'm going to check to see how many applications that you guys are. We're all going to start checking in, like, how many applications you've submitted. And whether or not you've completed a whiteboarding algorithm for the week. And again, this is just something that we want to help you out with to see where we can help, like, find where you're falling behind and try to help with that. Not like, oh, you didn't do this, you're a terrible person. More just like, oh, okay, like you're falling a little bit behind, or you did extra or something, so maybe we can adjust or things like that. That's all this is for. So, Arthur, you seem like you're always excited about things. So do you want to finish up this whiteboard check? I gave you and Aaron both edit access to this. Oh, and Terrence, you're here. Yeah. All right, cool. Hey. So Arthur, if you don't mind, just finishing up this document. Essentially, you would just be putting in, like, all the TAs you guys would just be putting in if the student did do a whiteboarding algo and if they submitted the 21 applications for the week. So that's how I wanted you guys to think about how to structure it. It could just be something simple, like whatever code you guys want to put in. All right, so today is all about React. And also, I finished up the stupid-ass Salesforce application. I actually got Salesforce working on CRUD, which is insanely difficult. So you guys, if anyone's interested, I got permission that we can share this across curriculum. So it has basic auth. And this is all React, by the way. So if I put an incorrect username or password, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, here. It has modals, allows me to tie in different things together. So, hey, you're dope. Give me a raise. It's my boss. Actually, I shouldn't. Hey, you're dope. Blah, 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 blah. And this actually enters into the Salesforce database and returns the information. So pretty simplistic, right? Trying to keep it as minimal as possible so that you guys understand all the aspects that are happening. And what I'll do is I'll share this application. I don't know if I should share it now because I think it's going to get overwhelming. But I think if I share it now, everyone's going to look into it, but like, why is this? I'm like, eh. So what I'm going to do is probably share it in like a week. Yeah, I think that's a better idea. Otherwise, people get too obsessed about things. Huh? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Then I'll Slack it out pretty soon. Okay. Just remind me, and I'll Slack it out by the end of day. Okay. So we're actually going to be using something called Create React App, which is the official way of using React nowadays. You might be first wondering, what the hell is React? So far, we've gone over how to use ES6, which is really important because a lot of what the React documentation uses is later iterations of ECMAScript, right? So if we go here, stupid slideshow. Hold on. Welcome. Welcome to class. No, you're huge. Saw you come in. Yeah. Oh, actually, this is cool. This whole thing is actually a React app. Is it not working? Oh, okay. I see. So if I go to part-time, I actually have to run the React application in order to run the slides. That's fine though. Slide shows npm start. Oh, npm install. So the slides for this slideshow are actually made in React. Oh God. Yeah, it has a lot of dependencies. Well, React itself doesn't create, React app does. Oh my God. It's still building. This is insane. Jesus. Yeah, you guys might have to deal with this today. I think I'm going to switch officially to Yarn for this class because it does run things a lot faster. No, instead of NPM, start. Why is everything going so slow? It installs things a lot faster. I just don't know why this was taking so long. Like it's running now, but it should run a lot faster. Anyway. All right. Just like all of my sessions, nothing is really spoon feeding. I really want you guys to critically think about things before you guys ask questions, like how things work. It's important to ask questions, but like, you know, why is it that this is happening? Think about it some more and then apply it. Because more and more as we get towards the end, it's going to be more and more critical thinking, more algorithms, more computer science stuff. And as you guys get into the field, a lot of it, all of it is actually going to be self-learning, right? This whole class is basically on the premise of you being able to gain self-efficacy. The entire field is predicated on it. If you go into the field and you start asking like, I have no idea how to do this. Can you do this? Can you do this? How do I do this? Blah blah. They're just not gonna give you the job, or you're gonna get fired. You really have to learn how to figure things out. More so towards the end. Now, I've purposely put in that into the README because one, it does really help you gain that self-efficacy, and two, I think that it actually does build up confidence. And I've seen that with you guys finishing all of your projects and your homeworks. Like, you guys have what it takes. Everyone who's here now has what it takes to become a developer, because you guys have all completed projects to spec, right? If you're contributing to the projects and you built it out, then that means you guys know what it takes. You guys have all gained that self-efficacy. So this is just continuing on with that self-efficacy. It's going to be a lot of immersion and exposure, and React is notoriously probably the most difficult week that people have because it's such a switcheroo. Now, React itself is actually not that bad, but the conceptual aspects of it make it a lot more difficult, combined with the newly formed understanding of ES6. So you're going to need to practice a lot. How many of you guys have started working on the Code Academy React tutorial? Excellent. So 3 people. Okay, good. So how many of you guys practiced some stuff and did things during the July 4th break stuff? Anyone practice, do good things? All right, a few more people. All right, so hopefully that was a good enough break, because you're going to need it. It is insane how much in demand React is right now. Every company seems to want React, and it's like not even a fad anymore. It's more just like the standard. It's weird because I went through different things. Like, it was like, oh, Backbone.js, then Ember.js, then it was like, Angular, and everyone was about Angular. But then like when React came out, it's like I've never seen it where it's just like been like, okay, I only want React now, and people don't care about Angular. People don't care about these other ones. Some people still care about Angular, but mostly it's just everyone wants to switch to React. So I want you guys to, again, not worry about like any of these fads or any of these things. I want you guys to really understand the concept that goes behind React and why it works the way it does. Libraries are like fads. They'll always come and go in popularity, but the ideas introduced by React appear to be here to stay. So iterations across React and what they're going to be, like Vue.js, even the newest Angular, other libraries such as that, they're going to be very comparable to one another. And it seems like this shift in paradigm, and I'm going to explain what the paradigm is in a bit, seems to be going in this direction. So what is React? Right? So React is an open source JavaScript library. It's made by Facebook, and it's just for making UI interfaces. So this is a really important part. It's just the client side, right? So it is nothing to do with the server side development part. It's just client side. There's no server side part to React whatsoever. I'm gonna still have people asking me, it's like, well, what can I set this up on the back end? Is there any back end component to React? No. Okay. Who's gonna yell at someone if they ask if React is back end? Me? No, but someone. I need to dedicate. Okay. I have someone in the back. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna have Jacob yell at someone if they ask if it's a back end thing. All right. So everyone knows that this is a client side only. That will help release a lot of confusion. Okay. So it's developed for the purpose of building large apps with rapidly changing data. Can you guys think of a large app with rapidly changing data? Oh yeah, look at that. Well, well, well. So, relies on a component-based architecture. Elements of the UI are broken into self-contained components. That seems like a concept we've covered before. What is that the concept of? Yeah, so what is the purpose of MVC? Separation of concerns, which is also one word, starts with modular and ends with ization, right? Yes. So modularization, right? So we have the separation of components. And we already started doing that a lot in our MVC applications, right? Let's see if someone, oh, Celsius, okay. Yes. So modularization is everywhere. And the concept of React takes it to the extreme, actually. It's really interesting. And we're getting into that. So Facebook has a ton of complexities. And again, to my own embarrassment, I'm gonna open up my own Facebook. And of course, Warhammer, right? Okay, so notice everything here, right? There's a lot of stuff. And most of it is not static. What does that mean? It is dynamic, it is getting data, and it's dynamically generated, right? That means it's constantly being updated, things are being changed, and I'm gonna get into this concept of components based off of what you guys see over here now. So, why is the bottom cut off? There we go. So, there's interactive options, live updating data, tightly interacting elements, right? It poses a challenge to simple DOM manipulation strategies, right? So if you have a basic site for Joe's Garage Shack or whatever, it's fine to use jQuery and HTML, CSS, but if you just scale an application that has constant data changes and maintenance of state and a lot of different things happening, so very large scale applications like Facebook, Google, AT&T, major applications, or even startups that are scaling. Anything that needs to scale needs to be able to maintain that on the client side, right? We've talked about server-side maintenance, right? How did we end up scaling on the server side? Which paradigm? MVC, right? So in this case, we're going to take the view out from the MVC part. So it's going to be MC, right? So we're still going to have the models and the controllers, right? But we're also going to have the controllers act as APIs instead of just controllers. All right, but otherwise, the backend is going to be very comparable. But instead of information being rendered to the client side, React is going to render. Okay? So React is going to make a call to the server side, get the information, just like an AJAX call. You guys know how Ajax works, right? But it's going to be a little bit more complex. When I say a little bit, it's going to be a lot more complicated. So React is going to make these calls to the server side, get the information, come back, right? But all the stuff that you guys learned still applies to the MVC model, right? Just the view part is the only one that's taken out. So this is when we get into grown-up engineering, right? So we're not just making small applications. This is, and what we've covered actually so far, you can make a scalable application to serve millions. Like the last few companies I worked at, we used Rails, and it was MVC. And it scaled really, really well for handling millions of users at the same time, right? And it's still able to do that. Now you can add React to it as well. So now we're going to get even further with scaling on just the client side. So with React, you have everything broken down into components, right? So UI elements are broken down into reusable components. Each subcomponent behaves in a way that's fully contained. So reusability is one of the benefits of what? What's one of my favorite words? Right. Modular, yeah, modularization, right? Oh, that's also one of my favorite words, but yeah, it actually does go into reusability is right? So this goes into it. So if I have something that's modular, I only use it when I need it, right? Because it's a separate component. So the way that React works is everything is in one place, actually. Everything is in a single JavaScript file. Everything is bundled down in one JavaScript file. Okay? And you might think that sounds super slow. But React works differently. It uses things called React DOM. We're going to get into it. And from there, everything is compiled down into this bundle.js. But when you're using React, you're actually using these files that are just JavaScript files, but also use this thing called JSX. And what happens is you build up these JSX files, and these are components. You generally start off with each page being a container. And these containers contain other components. And these components contain other components. And these subcomponents contain other components. This is similar to what we've done before, right? Parent-child relationships. You already know how to do parent-child relationships, right? We've done that so many times already, right? We're going to take it a step further. The parent-child relationships are going to be a lot more explicit, a lot more modular. We're going to be, yeah.
Could you say with the plain vanilla express handlebars, express writing, the servers essentially can just spoon feeding the browser on the display? And that's essentially the core of what it gets. But it's something like React, what you're essentially selling the browser in that in its own right that makes its own HTTP requests for various components.
So the question is, does MVC provide the rendering and spoon feed essentially what should be displayed? Whereas does React have a self-contained application? And does that just ask for the information relevant? Is that the question? Essentially, yes. That is correct. Yes. So React is its own application. So this is actually very similar to what we worked with in the beginning, which is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then we have a server on the other side, and the two connect to each other, right? Except the React app can be a lot more modular and can scale a lot better, right? When I say scale, I mean, a lot of things that come with scaling, right? Do we have a lot of modularization? Check. Do we have a lot of reusability? Check. Do we have state maintenance? Check. Do we have the ability of other people to be able to work on the same things and be able to understand what's happening? Check. Right? So very understandable things that you guys have already worked on and now just applied to React. All right, so this concept of modularization and componentization means that each of your elements that go inside of here, it's going to be a pretty dramatic shift. you're not using a lot of like handmade HTML and CSS anymore. You're using these components that contain these blocks. So, for instance, if I had a nav bar, now instead of me putting in, nav bar, blah, 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 all this stuff, I put it all into a component, and then I just include the nav bar. I import it, and then I use it as a component. If I have, I don't know what the hell is this, employee list items, right? And I want to display multiple employee list items, I'll then dynamically generate them as a component. I'll pass the information to this component, and then this component will render multiple employee list items. Similar to the application you guys saw today. So the application that I made was in stupid award card JS. So it dynamically shows the information, and each one of those was a different component that got dynamically generated from the database call. And you guys have done this. You guys have dynamically generated multiple items before from Ajax calls, right? And all your in-class activities and homeworks. You remember like taking information and putting it into a table, and it puts in like a train, right? It's the same thing, except now it's just contained in the components. And that makes it a lot more reusable, right? So someone at Facebook doesn't have to reinvent everything, and they shouldn't, right? They should be reusing components because you want to keep the same style and the same functionality throughout your application, except especially with things that become as monolithic as Facebook. A couple more things. So components are also much easier to test. If you have components, each of these components can be tested using what kind of testing? Unit testing, right? So you can unit test each one of these components, which is amazing, right? You can't unit test HTML and CSS on its own. That's just doesn't work out, right? But you can unit test React components. There's several libraries for this. So we all those you guys. The other things I mentioned, reusability, and actually the importance of actually putting things where they belong is good, because you start structuring out your application in a much more logical way as opposed to hacking things together. So it's kind of like doing the bootstrapping thing, but taking it a step further. Minimize what you want to do in terms of your implementation. Think about exactly what you want to do, and then React will help you do that. As opposed to just putting everything, this will actually force you to be a lot more concise. All right, so maintaining state and data. If you are trying to track all the shit that's happening in Facebook, can you imagine what the jQuery would look like? Like, holy crap, how many event handlers would there be? Infinity billion is the exact amount, right? If you guys went to Facebook and you saw all the different things that get constantly updated and that just have to be constantly changed and things like that, go to any major site. Go to Amazon. Go to like Google. Go to like I don't know. What are some other popular sites that kids are using nowadays? Walmart. No.
Like Quora.
Never Walmart. Huh?
Quora.
Quora. Yeah. Quora. Sorry, I just hate Walmart. Reddit, yeah, but Walmart is actually good. Yeah, they actually do have Walmart Labs, which actually does a lot of research.
The Slack web app.
The Slack web app.
Switch.
Switch or Twitch?
Twitch TV.
Yeah, Twitch TV, yeah. So if you think about it, it's like, wow, a lot of these are using a ton of components, and they're constantly updating. If I had to use jQuery or just native JavaScript for events, the amount of changes that would occur and to keep track of all those changes across an application would be just horrendous, right, as you scale. Short term, it's fine. You can just be like, oh, I just have a couple of files for that. Long term, you're just going to be like, well, we're switching to something else, right? With React, all the event handling is done through state. And each component can maintain its own state, which is cool. Right? This concept, like, it doesn't really hit, but like, it's really interesting. Like, you can actually maintain state of each thing that you're building. Each little thing that you're building can have its own state, right? And you can then determine like what is doing what. So it seems like, okay, well, you're just putting things back into how it was when we first started with HTML and JavaScript. But these are reusable components. Before we weren't using reusable components. And another thing is speed. Holy shit, React is really fast. And that's because JavaScript is fast. Right? We're doing DOM manipulation, but we're all doing this not on rendering the normal way. We're actually doing this through what React created, React developers created called the React DOM. And essentially, hey, good evening. So the virtual DOM is something that exists that keeps track of all the changes in your application for React. And it's super fast because it's all in JavaScript. It maintains the state of your previous application before any changes were made, and has that in the virtual DOM. If any changes were made, it will then update the regular DOM. Right? And updating the virtual DOM is super fast because, again, JavaScript is super fast. Right? On a V8 engine, JavaScript can run faster than compiled C. Right? Which is, if you, any CS class you take, you're like, you're shut up, you're crazy. Right? But it's actually really, really fast. It's crazy. So the virtual DOM is an intermediary and avoids unnecessary trips to the DOM because if you render things through the DOM, your browser actually goes really slow. But rendering things through the engine, the JavaScript engine, which is actually separate, it actually runs way faster, right? So checking against the virtual DOM, which is just a state maintenance by React that says, here's all the changes you had with your application. Oh, something else changed? Okay, let's just update that one thing. And then update the DOM with that one thing. Okay? So instead of refreshing everything, it's just updating what it needs to update. I love this picture. Has anyone seen this meme? It's like one of my favorite memes. Yeah. So essentially, the JavaScript object. So the virtual DOM is an object that models a real DOM. So whenever some part of the application state changes, blah blah blah. So this is just what I mentioned. So basically, you're trying to minimize the amount of changes to the real DOM. Right, so you have this virtual DOM, which is just a JavaScript object, and it keeps track of all your changes. Right? Anything updates, it will then just update that one tiny piece instead of updating everything and then taking a long time. All right, so there's always a pro and con, right? Every library is not perfect. Everything has its use, right? Except for Internet Explorer. So a component-based architecture encourages us to break our application's UI into reusable components and quickly go through code reviews. Now, in the beginning, and if you're building a small application, don't use React. You don't need to use React. It's not something that you want to use if you're just building a tiny application. But if you want to scale that application, it makes it so you're reusing a lot of components because you're decoupling things. You don't need to couple everything together, and therefore you can reuse a lot of the stuff that you've already built. Right? Eventually, as you build your application with a core of developers, then you start reusing a lot of those components. So, Roberto and your company, if you guys are switching to React, as you guys scale with using React, you guys are going to start having more and more components that you guys should be pulling and reusing, making sure that those aren't coupled, or making sure those aren't coupled together with other components.
module rotation, creating every single functionality to its own module.
Yeah. And eventually you'll see the benefit of that. Like, you don't have to have everything coupled together, and therefore you don't have to recreate everything each time you need it. Eventually you have so many components, you're just like, oh, I just need blah, blah, blah. Okay, make a new page. Okay, I need this, this, and this. Okay, and a new thing. I might have to create one new thing, but otherwise, be lazy. This allows you to be lazy as you scale, right? You're able to iterate really quickly. In the beginning, it's like slow, but then eventually it goes like this, right? So, in terms of speed. All right. The second part is really important. The speed is crazy because of the virtual DOM. So, it's always checking using the virtual DOM, and it's okay. It's always checked because the virtual DOM is so fast. It's just a JavaScript object. And it's much faster than trying to re-render something to the DOM. Right? It only renders what's necessary. Oh yeah, you're forgetting some stuff. So you can build native applications with this. It's just a UI thing, but you can actually interface with a lot of stuff. So React Native is actually really cool. Sorry. React Native is really cool. Let's see. Disappointed. But we don't have enough time. So React Native is amazing. You can use your React knowledge to pretty much switch from just using React on web applications to building native mobile applications. And if you get, I'm sorry? Yeah. Yeah, it'll actually compile down to whatever the native language is. That's what the React Native does. Yeah, I know. I know.
So you should do it.
I'll try. I don't know if there's enough time to do like 1 hour sessions, but I'll try.
Do you have any class content on it?
I do, but I don't.
You like, it's just like push up.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have the exercise anymore, but what I'll do is I'll push up the videos if I find one. Yeah, because the exercises kept getting out of date. They kept carrying on so fast that we couldn't keep it. So I have any videos. Yeah, they're basically like, yeah, we can't keep it because they start to complain like, it just changed 2 weeks ago. It's like, shit, okay, let's do it again. Okay, it changed another. Okay, let's update it again. So it just wasn't working. But it's really, really cool. If you guys want to build mobile applications really fast, you don't have to learn Objective-C, or sorry, Swift, which is basically just Objective-C still, and Java. Those are the languages of what? Android and iOS, right? You guys don't need them anymore. You guys will just be like, all right, I'm just going to use React Native. And nowadays, there's a lot of people that just work in React Native. A lot of people are asking for React Native developers. So it's kind of crazy, like this whole shit. Arguably easier to learn, more popular than other competing friend JavaScript libraries and frameworks. It's just, they're talking so much shit on Angular. It is easier than Angular. Angular in the beginning is easy, but then it gets harder. It's kind of weird. And it's just a really overly cumbersome framework. Yeah?
So is this just a framework? I think I remember asking that.
Yeah. It's more of a framework than it is a library, because they have you learn like TypeScript and they have you learn like a lot more stuff. And like a very specific way of doing things. I mean, React does have like a specific way, but it's all just JavaScript. So Angular is like you have to learn like a whole thing. And it seems to be dying in popularity. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I want you guys to be able to be code agnostic, right? Or library framework agnostic. I don't care what you guys use. I want you guys to understand like the benefits and cons of each one. Be able to switch when needed. So whatever fits the bill for what you're trying to build is what technology you guys should be using. Not like, oh, I'm like this person, or I'm like, I only like this. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's pros and cons to each thing. Yeah, so React is just a view library. You're gonna have to actually use things like Axios or requests to make HTTP calls similar to, like basically Ajax requests. However, fetch is built in. And fetch is a newer API built into the client side. I don't like fetch as much just because it requires extra syntax, but it still works, and you don't have to get another library to use it. It's actually built in. So if you're really, really trying to save on space, you can use fetch. Yeah. No, Axios actually just built on top of Ajax. It's just a library that, so Ajax is asynchronous JavaScript and XML, right? That's built into the web. But when we've been using Ajax, we've been using what to make? You've been using jQuery, right? So instead of using jQuery, we're going to use like just Axios. So jQuery includes the Ajax method, which is built on top of the native Ajax calls, which is like XML HTTP request object, right? So we're building on top of that using external libraries because React isn't included. Okay, so
That XML request object is Axios.
no, that's Ajax. Ajax, remember, is built into the browser. So it's built into client-side JavaScript. So when you use JavaScript from the client side, you're able to access the XML HTTP request object, which is Ajax. Setting up React is a pain, but other than that, it's fine.
All right, so let's get started on it. So there's a couple of ways of going about this.
The official way of using React now, they've decided, is to use Create React App, which is a build system that will build a basic application for you, or scaffold an application for you. I call it C.R.A.P because, I mean, it's actually good, but I call it C.R.A.P because Create React App, right? But C.R.A.P is like the fastest, easiest thing. So I'm just gonna say C.R.A.P now, right? You guys can still call it Create React, it's just too long. So C.R.A.P. I build it from scratch. Like I like using my own forms because I like to switch out. Like we tried a couple of different things out. So we've been using Webpack for a while. I'll tell you guys what it does. And then Babel as well. But I like to have my own configurations and things like that because I like a little bit of customization. But if you guys are just starting off,
And even if you did want to do a lot of customization, you guys will be able to use C.R.A.P.
so in the application that I built, and this is why I didn't want to send it out early, is because I didn't use C.R.A.P for that. We decided as a team that we wanted to make it more custom. So we actually custom put in Webpack, custom put in Babel, custom put in everything. And that made it a lot better. All right, so what is Webpack? And no matter what, by the way, you're still going to be using Webpack and Babel. So if you use C.R.A.P, it just includes it for you, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do any configuration. Yeah, that's like such a confusing definition. Module bundling for modern JavaScript. When Webpack processes your application, recursively builds a dependency graph that includes every module your application needs to package all its modules into a small number of bundles, often only one to be loaded by the browser. So this is what I was talking about with the application being inside one file called bundle.js. So what Webpack does is it says, okay, give me everything that the React application has and put it into a single file and make it so I can just run it. So essentially it's like, okay, if I want to run React and I want it to run on every application, and I needed to, use all the same stuff that we do, I need Webpack in order to run. So Webpack allows me to bundle everything together. It has all the dependencies that I need and puts it into a single file so that I can just include it in my index.html file. So when you're actually running your React app, you realize that all of it is just one file that gets linked to an HTML file. And everything runs to that single HTML file. So the index.html file is just going to link to this bundle.js, and that is going to run your entire React app. Now, Babel, we briefly went over the concept, right? But it basically is just a compiler. So basically, if you wanted to use ES6 code and you wanted to be cross-platform, then use Babel. Because what it does, it just converts it from ES6 to ES5. Right? It's just going to take everything that exists with the newer stuff and makes it dumb. So that Internet Explorer, like, you know, Safari, Opera, all that stuff can use it. Right? That's all that Babel does, really. This allows you to use all the newest, latest, and greatest. And that way, you can use all like the cool stuff, and you don't have to worry about it not working on other browsers. You can use a CDN, but don't. It used to be really hard to actually like set up a React app. Yeah, they made it a lot better. Like when I first started using React to now, it's pretty much all streamlined. So you can pretty much set up a React app super, super, super fast. And you guys will see how fast. And start actually adding components to it without really having to worry about too much. So really rely on like the virtual DOM and like all the stuff that React provides as benefits, rather than like doing it like in a hacky way. Like Facebook has been really cool. They put up all their documentation, funny enough, on GitHub pages, and they show you like step by step like what's the best way to do something, and they have a lot of examples. So if you go through their tutorials, it's actually really well done. So I think they hired like a really good UX team, you know, went through and put documentation up there so that everyone would use React. All right, so now I'm gonna start having you guys do some research. Oh yeah, it says remember to emphasize today's class is meant to be a primer, not comprehensive coverage, which makes sense. Today is just gonna be an overview. We're just trying to cover like the concepts, and we're gonna do some implementation, but more so I want you guys to really try to understand what the concept is, what it is, why we're using it, and then we're gonna get into the how. So make sure you guys open up 01 student documentation questions. So go into the README. And then go through the questions themselves. So it's going to have you install, create React app, and then we're going to start using Yarn. Yarn is just like NPM, except faster. That's it. Oh, excellent. Did anyone, can one of the TAs push that up? I think normally Clay does it, but Clay told me he was not going to be here today. Who's doing it? Is that or one of the teams? Thank you, Aaron. Sorry for Clay's laziness. Yep. Oh yes. Will you guys be able to run it yet? It's actually a React app, so you guys wouldn't be able to run it yet. I'll Slack it out. I'll have the TAs Slack it out at the end of the day. Because right now it would be hard to run. Yeah, the whole thing is a React app. Yeah.
So as soon as that's locked out, just start working on it. I'm just gonna grab some of the drink real quick. Keep it down. Everyone have the documentation, by the way? Still not? Oh, shoot. All right. I might just slack it out. Is there, Aaron, is there something weird happening with the repo?
It's just not in it.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, just slack it out if there's something weird. We have a little bit of extra time today because this class was supposed to happen on like a weekday, and it's like a Saturday, so we can take a little bit of extra time with it. Okay. That's weird. Okay. So yeah, Aaron posted up the React quiz, so just take a look at that. Work on that for about 15 minutes. No. Fucking Salesforce. Hmm. Oh, fuck. Oh, okay. Devalue. If anyone wants to see how shitty Salesforce sets up their models and databases, this is it. Just FYI. It's so bad. This is Salesforce model setup, by the way. Makes no sense. Tiny improvements user. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And a few more minutes. $19. Make sure you guys really understand the answers to these questions too. These questions are all super important. All right, so I just locked out the solution. And it's uploading. There it goes. So create React app. So let's see. The answers are already given to us in the solution that I gave out. So I think if I call on people, people are just going to read off of it. So create React app, or C.R.A.P, is officially supported, and it's a great way to start off a application. You can configure it further if you want by using what is called ejection. You can eject it, and then what happens is create React app and allows you to make further configurations to it. Otherwise, it starts off with you using Webpack and Babel already built in without having any configuration needed. Along with that, C.R.A.P also includes what? What does C.R.A.P also include, besides the configuration part taken care of? No, it's actually separate. Yeah, so besides the configuration part, it also includes a scaffold of a lot of different files included, along with the project architecture. Mm-hmm. And Yarn is an open source JavaScript package manager similar to NPM, except it's faster. It's made by, I don't know who the hell Tilde and Exponent are, but Facebook and Google helped build it. No, you don't need to install Yarn with NPM. You can install it without NPM. It asks you to install it with NPM. You can install it without it. That's funny. I don't think that's how I install Yarn, but yeah, you could do that. Okay, cool. That's funny. So Yarn is a really fast package manager. I use it at work a lot. But it's almost the same commands. Very few commands that are different. It's going to be like, instead of, let's see, npm install, blah, blah, blah. Instead of adding it through npm install for individual apps, you're going to use yarn add. For removing packages, it's going to be yarn remove. Other than that, it's just like small syntax like that. It's going to be different. But it's a lot faster. So React has a lot of benefits. We already mentioned some of that. So it's easy to start learning it because it just uses JavaScript. It's component-based, so we have components that are encapsulated, and they do have that reusability. And speaking of reusability, you can then take those components and use them in a lot of other places, right? So you learn React, you can use it across a lot of different spaces, including mobile applications. So if you're in the mobile space, it's especially crazy because instead of having to write Android code or iOS code, you're just writing React. Yeah. The disadvantage of using just React would be you might need some heavy customization on the client side that React Native might not have. Yeah.
Oh, I have a question. You said there's no backend component, but since your React can also render on the server,
Mm-hmm. There's no backend component to it. It's not a backend service. You can render it from the backend, but it's a client-side thing. Yeah, it's just client-side. So you can render it from the server side if you wanted it, I don't know why you want to, but you can. But it's not a back-end thing. Like, it's not Express, it's not Node, it's not any of that. You can render from there just like you would the views, but you generally don't want to do that. Yeah.
It looks like React is kind of like kind of similar to what
It can be used as handlebars. It can just be used solely as client side. But I want you to think about it as just the UI, just the view. So in that sense, it is similar to handlebars because the view. But most of the time when we're running it just from the client side. Meaning that it's run, you can almost think of it as a separate application than like it is a separate application most of the time than the server side. If you're running it on a server-side application, generally it's just going to return an index.html file, which would then run all the bundle.js stuff, which we won't get into right now, but I'll show you guys how to do it. I think I did that for the Travel Secure Mongo app. I'll show you guys okay, I want to show you guys multiple ways of using React apps, but I think that confuses people. So I'll show people a single way of building React apps. And then if you guys are further interested, I'll show you different ways of doing it for different reasons. All right, what is a React component? So they're insular, encapsulated, modularized pieces of code that allow you to reuse your code over and over. That's pretty much as concise as you can get. It's all inside of these little components that you're going to be just using like Lego blocks, right? So if I have these Lego blocks, I just put them together, these components, and it forms an application. All right, easiest way to think about it. Confusion on this so far. Fist of 5 on understanding conceptually. I want to see where we're at. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Okay. So React DOM.render, it's actually a package that will render your React component to the DOM. Generally, it's done just once, and what happens is that one component that you render is going to contain all the other components in your application. I wouldn't even worry about it too much. After you render it, then you're just building out the rest of your application. So it's really not that big of a deal. JSX. Now this is important. I think JSX stands for JavaScript Interpreted. I keep forgetting. But essentially, it's a syntax extension to JavaScript that looks like HTML. So you guys are going to be able to put in HTML-like syntax into your React components, right? So you're able to use all the HTML syntax that you want, but everything is actually rendered as JavaScript, right? So everything is actually just through JavaScript, okay? It makes it easier to write your components. In React, everything is JavaScript and gets interpreted through JavaScript through the React DOM. So using JSX makes sense because you get the benefits of using HTML-like syntax without having the slowdown of actual HTML, right? Because everything, don't forget, gets transpiled through, I shouldn't say transpiled, actually gets rendered through the virtual DOM, right? And the virtual DOM is a JavaScript object, so it checks against that. I know, it's gonna be super, like, the workflow in the beginning is super confusing and it's completely different, but this new way of doing things is changing how a lot of people do web development. So much so that like this is the new standard of doing web development for a lot of companies. I don't want to say majority yet, but I don't know any company yet that's not switching to React, which is kind of trippy, or is looking to switch to React. So if you guys work at tech companies, I'm sure that you guys can attest to that, right? Especially the bigger ones, right? Yeah, the largest ones are all switching to it. Actually, yeah, I'm curious. Snapchat, are they switching React? Yeah, yeah. It's funny because that's a competitor to. Yeah, that's funny. They want more developers to work on their stuff and therefore get more integrated into the Facebook platform. Therefore, yeah. It's not like they're very like, oh, we love everybody and everyone's amazing. They have vested interests. Yeah. So yeah, every major company is doing it. Even competitors to like Instagram and stuff like Snapchat. And I think you said AT&T is doing it as well, right? Yeah. Your guys' tech companies, who else ever works at tech companies, larger ones especially, probably switching to React. So the reason you use C.R.A.P is because of the ease of use. Facebook knows that it's difficult to start setting things up from scratch. Like the way I do things is not recommended in the beginning. Like the way I set up the Salesforce application is fairly complicated and requires an in-depth understanding of how Webpack works, how Babel RC works, much better understanding of like how packages work, dependency management, I would even say server management, and client-side tools to get into it. And in the beginning, that's how React was. It was very manual, and you had to set up all these different parts together, and people were just super confused. But now, they fully support and recommend using C.R.A.P because it gets you started on just building React apps. You don't have to worry about all that. It sets it up in a very standardized way, and so a lot less headaches. And then we already went over what Babel does, right? So we can use the latest versions of ES6. Now, we went over ES6 on Monday, Tuesday, so hopefully you guys reviewed some of that stuff. In terms of FIS to 5, how are you guys understanding ES6 so far? Wow, 3 to 5? That's really good. That's very good. Okay. We'll still have a review session on Sunday for that and React. Again, I will be drunk for sure. So just send me questions ahead of time. Because I have a life, right? Or I'm trying to. So make sure you guys send me questions ahead of time. And that way I can think of the answers before I go into the session. I believe it will be 8. It might be 9. So I'll let you guys know, but it is going to be in the evening. Okay. The curly braces in JSX. So if you're just trying to use JavaScript, so this is where George's question was coming in, right? Because you can actually use these curly braces, and this is very similar to what that he mentioned. Handlebars, right? You can pass in JavaScript directly into that, just like in handlebars. So it's kind of weird because JSX is JavaScript, but it renders native JavaScript a little bit differently. So if you want to use native JavaScript in JSX, go ahead, right? You can just put it in there. I can show you guys an example. Here is, okay, so you guys now know how to use map. So I'm using pure JavaScript in here, and notice that I'm able to then execute all of this code directly into this component. And I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with this component right now, but if you guys take a look at this, I'm able to use these curly braces with that. For those of you who want to take it a step further, does anyone know what ternary operator does? Ternary operator. If else, exactly. Ternary operator is the same thing as if else. This looks really fancy. All this means is if this statement is true, do this. Otherwise, do this. So that's why with React, I have this really cool functionality where this will show up until this gets loaded, and then this will display. I think that's really cool. In such a short amount of code, I mean, look at this. I'm able to have that functionality. Let me see if I can do this. Let me get rid of that. Look at that. See, it says loading and then displayed in the background. Right? I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. So look at this. You saw it loading for a second? God damn it. All right, everyone pay attention. All right. Ready? Go. Loading? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So I mean, it's fast, but essentially the reason that it was so slow was because it was waiting for stupid ass Salesforce, right? To get the data. As soon as stupid ass Salesforce got the data, or sorry, as soon as React got the data from stupid ass Salesforce, it immediately is able to render all that information really quickly. Okay. But with very little code. And this is why like developers love using React. It's super fast and you're able to do a lot with very little. Yeah. No, we're actually good on time today. Remember I said we have extra time today.
So, you said you didn't want us to get over.
Yeah. But we have extra time today because remember I mentioned today's Saturday instead of like, yeah, we're going to get into it. Yeah. Yeah, so today I'm taking it a little bit slower because we have extra time today because it's a Saturday, but normally this class was supposed to be on a Wednesday, Thursday. So what is a component prop? So this is a little bit confusing, but information that's being passed from a parent to a child. Yep, from parent to child, right? If I pass information from one to another downwards, that's a prop. What was it? You're not passing information to siblings. You're passing information only to child components. So if it is, I mean, technically everything can be considered a sibling because they're all components. But when you pass it that way, even laterally, or sorry, horizontally, then you can consider it a child of that in that case. And generally, if you're passing information from one thing to another, it would be top down. So that's why you want to think about the component hierarchy in the picture that you saw. Everything is gonna, we'll talk about unidirectional workflow pretty soon, actually. Let me get to that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is do something really complicated. So whenever I say that, what does that mean? That it's not very complicated. Okay, so if I go to, let me just generate it here. Okay. So if I run this, create React app, and you guys have all installed create React app, right? Okay, so if I run this, create React app, and I call it React practice, oop, I have no React app, so I have to download create React app. I downloaded it. Create React app. Come on, come on. Nice. Yeah, I have to do a global install. Blah, 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 blah. Where's the global install for create React app? Come on, come on. Oh, that's weird. I thought I have it. Huh. Okay. All right, so yeah, the command it gave me was wrong. Or maybe I just don't have that package. That's weird. All right, this is working now. I'll have to take a look at that. All right, so what I can do is, now I'm using yarn. So notice that the command I used before was yarn. So yarn is just like NPM. I would just use it like you would with NPM, except different, a little bit of different syntax, just a little bit faster too. That's it. One other thing, yarn, you're still going to use package.json, but you are going to see a package.lock. Instead of package.lock, it's going to be yarn.lock. You're never going to touch the lock files anyway, but just FYI, that's what happens. So really completely different, right? Just switch from NPM to using yarn. So instead of NPM, yarn. Yeah. We wanted you guys to use NPM from the beginning because I think that's one of the major package managers that's used in a lot of industries. So again, we go with old ways of doing things, then like ways that are mostly used, and then newest. So now it's all newest. So Mongo is new, React is new, and like all this stuff is new. So it's not like it's still not like the standard. The standard is still like NPM. So the majority of stuff was like in the middle of 2 months, which I think makes sense, right? But if you want to do like the latest and greatest, now it's like we're doing latest and greatest. Yeah. Oh, so this is a command that is used from the official Create React app on Facebook. And this allows me to create a new React app using C.R.A.P. So the name of the app I made is called React Practice. So if I go into, do you guys see it? What do I go into? React Practice, right? And what does it say to do from here? How do I start my application? It says it over here, and it says it. Yarn start. So this is where reading comes in, right? Reading. So do I do yarn start over here? Or do I do yarn start? Inside here. So make sure I'm in React Practice, run yarn start. Look at this. It actually starts up the application for me. And it has this cool little Giphy thingy. Yeah. Yes. They are, okay, so this is a good question. So the question was, is the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript available on the browser side, meaning that can you look through them using the browser? You can look through the files through the browser, but it's all going to get compiled down into bundle.js. However, from the browser, there are tools where you can look at the individual React components from the browser side using a React Dev Tools. There is a plugin for that where you can actually go through and step through all your React code from the browser. It does compile down into it, yes. But it's, the way it'll look is all like jumbled and stuff. Like, it's not gonna like, you know how normally you're able to go through the different files and like, see like, oh, this is nice and blah, blah, blah. But it's gonna be kind of like weird looking. Yeah, it's gonna look all weird and funky. Like you can't go through the individual files as you would normally. You can go through the React files though. Like if you use the React Dev Tools. Yeah. Good question. All right, so this is the application and we can open it up. So that's how fast you're able to run a React app, by the way. So if we look at these structures, so first, let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. I forget anything? No. Yeah, so let's just go through the structure. So this is the structure. And again, I have this yarn lock with the little cat. It comes with a git ignore. And notice that it already ignores a bunch of crap that you don't need to have in there. Package JSON already comes with some stuff that you need: React, React DOM, React scripts. Notice that React DOM, React scripts are separate. React scripts is actually an external library that allows you to run a development environment and do some really cool things. Don't worry about build or test yet. Although those who are interested in testing, I would check out test. It's really cool. Our public, you guys actually know what this is already. All right, so this is all public facing, and this is going to be our index.html file. And notice that it's a really simple index.html file. There's a lot of comments, but really it's not much. Like the icon is just this. The JSON is just some standards to start off with the application. Yeah. The one on the what? Oh yeah, the favicon, yeah. Yeah, so usually like the favicon is shown on, if you have a favicon, you generally show it on your tab or something like that. So if you go over here, this over here is, I think, the same icon. This is a different icon over here, the one that's spinning. This is coming from React or some shit. I think it's this thing. Yeah, I think it's this. Yeah, but I think something is spinning it. I don't know. I don't care. It's just like some image. I usually just get rid of it. It's just there to like look fancy. So it includes like a bunch of stuff. You guys do not have to worry about the register service worker. This will just help you on production stuff. The SVG is just that image. Like here, I just get rid of it. So whenever I don't need it, let me see. Yeah, so this is their structure of how to do things. I structure my stuff a lot differently. This is just how they started off with you. My application structure is going to look a lot different. My application structure is going to look. I do it like this. So mine actually looks like this, where it's like containers, components, and then each one has like their own individual. If there are images, they're in the component. So because everything is self-contained. Mine is based off my best practices, I would say, like that I've developed over reading a lot of like React documentation. So like this is an assessment delivery application. You remember those assessments, those checkpoints that you guys take? That's all in React. That I built with Joel and at work, and we do it based off of best practices that they're still iterating, because React is so new that it's still like going through like best practices phases and stuff. So we kind of like took the best practices that we learned from reading a lot of documentation and a lot of articles and like said like, oh, that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. And so we did it that way. This is the way they actually want it to be done. This is like the scaffold they start you off with that you can then extend, right?
I understand those images, this type of application, it should be.
Yeah. Well, they're coming from, okay, so if I have static images, right? Images that are not dynamic, then they should exist where? If we're going with the concept of modularization, if we're going with the concept of modularization and self-contained components, meaning that I can just bring that component in and it works, I can bring this component in and it works, I can bring this component in and it works, then where should everything exist for that component?
So there's a header chat, you want the chat icon, it shouldn't be
Right. Yeah. So that is the concept that I go with, because there are different ways of going about it. But if we're going with what React prefers, which is self-contained modularization, then self-contained means that the CSS, all of that goes inside of that. Correct. Yes, it would be in a folder. So if you go over here, take a look at assessment delivery. This is a larger project. So we have these components, and look at this. Our auth contains all this information. These are React components, but notice that there's CSS in here as well. So I can pull this component in to do auth for any kind of authentication. I can do dashboard, I can do loading, I can do login button, I can do main, and these are all decoupled from other components and can be individually tested. Importing. Yep. So you export each one of these as individual. You don't export the. Yes, you're exporting. So imagine at the end, export default login, and this login will contain these other components in here. So this is not the simple one that we have here, right? That's a more complicated application. This is the assessment delivery, right? It's not that complicated. It's just like a little bit more complicated. So this is how you do it, right? Everything that's related to that component is in there. Now, I don't want to get too into it right now because we want to take it step by step. But that's essentially the architecture of it, right? We have these side by side right now, but eventually we'd want to put these into what? Folders. So app CSS, app.js would be under folder called app, right? Index CSS, index.js would be under index. The app.test.js would also be under here. Notice that we're actually using testing in here. This is a unit test on on the app. It shows how to test it. There's one way of testing it. CSS variables in React, meaning that you can use CSS files just like you would normally. So this, his question is about CSS. You can just use, if you're using index.css, this is just CSS. Oh, is he? We'll go into that later, but yeah, you can. You can use SCSS, you can use Sass, you can use anything you want, and you can just compile it down. So yes, the answer is yes. But this is all standard that comes with the application, by the way. Right? This is why, so if I change this to, so I'll show you guys something cool too, buts. I didn't refresh the page. Saved it here. I do save it, right? So React scripts actually comes with a hot loading component that's built into React scripts, allows you to hot load, meaning that as soon as you save, it recognizes that save and it updates it on the client side. Okay, so perfect segue. Why don't we go grab some food? Let's come back 12:40 and we'll continue. Go. Let me go back to recording. All right, so if you look at the index.html page, so if you look at the index.html page, you'll notice that we have this index.html file with the root, and this div is really the only thing inside of the body, right? What was that? Oh, on Zoom? Okay, thank you. So this root is where everything is actually going to get mounted into. So if you take a look at our components, the first thing we're going to look at is index.js. So index.js is going to be our point of entrance into our application. So notice that we're importing things from React, including React DOM. We include some CSS. We're also going to include our first component from this file over here. So this index.js is not a component itself. It's just an entrance JavaScript file. So we're also going to use this register service worker. Don't worry about that. This is just something that exists for C.R.A.P. But what we're doing over here is we're saying render this app. Now, this is how we write components. We have the capitalized A for the app, and this is a component that was imported from here. So it's adjacent. And then we're saying, put it inside this root. So get element by ID root, and then place this component in there. So if we take a look at our index.html file, it got this element using native JavaScript, and it put that component in there. Now this component, this index.js has this app component. This app component is going to contain all of our other components. All right. So this itself is a component. And this is how basic component looks. So take a look at this. So notice that we're starting to use some of the ES6 stuff. One of the ES6 things that we're using is import, right? So import, again, it's just like saying import this variable and require it from this location, right? So we've already installed the React library. So if we installed in a React library, then we just say import from React. Now, we also used object destructuring here. So what does object destructuring mean? What does component mean? You guys remember? What does this mean in ES5? So it's putting it into a variable, right? Name component. So this would be the same thing as me saying, in ES5, it would be like var component equals require React dot component. Right? So correct. So it's taking the method or the property of React that is component, and it's storing it in the variable name component, and you're importing it at the same time. So it has a lot going on in just very little. Yep. So React, you're importing all of React, and you're also importing just the component. Otherwise, you'd have to do. Okay. So now classes. Classes in ES6 are something that's kind of a misnomer. It's not really a class. Classes are just blueprints, right? Think about your constructor functions that you guys have created before. They're blueprints that can generate elements, right? So this component can be used, and you can use it over and over and over, and every time you use this component, it will execute whatever's inside of here. But it can also have methods that you can then execute within the component as well. Now, classes in JavaScript pretend to be classes, but don't be fooled. They're actually still prototypal inheritance, right? Classes are still prototypal inheritance. That means that in the background, this app extends component is not really a class. It's app getting a prototype from component. So app is an extension of component, and component is the app's prototype. So this is just there to make it easier rather than using prototyping, because prototyping is a little bit more difficult in terms of syntax. But in the background, that's what's happening. It's not real class-based architecture. And again, this is a interview question. So what's the difference between classical and prototypal inheritance? Yeah. That's on Zoom. All right, so from here, we've also imported an image from logo.svg along with the app CSS. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out, I need that logo. Yeah, I'm gonna take out this logo. I don't need it. I hit save. Yeah, I can get rid of that. I like VS Code. It actually shows me what's not being used and puts it in gray. Yeah, that was really fat. So notice that the image is gone. I can get rid of other things, but again, this is all EJ, or not EJS, JSX. So this looks like HTML, but it's a little bit different. One thing is that classes inside of HTML elements in JSX, they're not called class. It's called class name. That's because class is reserved for the constructor class. Okay, so we have class name instead of using class. So it doesn't understand what class is. It does understand what class name is. ID is still ID. That's the only difference right now. This one, so this one, so there's no deconstruction. This is just, essentially it's prototypal inheritance. It's pretending to be a class. It's not a real class. And then notice that we're exporting this towards the end, right? Where are we exporting this? So when we call this app, by default, when we import it, it's going to import this entire app. So when we include it here, when we say render it into this element, we're actually rendering this whole thing. And we're going to get to some of this now. So why don't you guys try doing a hello world example? So try doing the stew hello React. Oh, excellent. Aaron, did you push up all the rest? Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Let me send that out. Mm. Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Okay. Does anyone here use Salesforce at work? Oh man. Wow, several of you guys. 4 of you guys? You guys use the APIs? Huh?
User base, newsletters, and things like that.
Okay.
Attach it directly to the CRM.
Okay. Okay. But you guys don't use like SQL?
We have to. I don't know the teams together. You have to use it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I handle more fun.
I might do like a SQL tutorial to show like how shitty it is. It's really shitty. What? It's terrible. It's just like WordPress and all that. I'm just like, fuck this. Terrible, huh?
So HubSpot's not that bad. There's some SaaS.
A lot of the times they're not, but I think the ones that are always generated for everybody are just generally done terribly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the full thing.
See, that's why I want to build a modular one that will just be checkboxes. Like, what do you want? You just include these and then
Drag and drop. So like if you just start a store that doesn't mean anything, but just start 4 hats online.
Yeah.
But if you are a huge manufacturer, then you need inventory manager.
Yeah.
Warehouse.
So then just drag and drop. Yeah. But they don't want to. I don't know why they don't. I think they don't want to put in the time frame.
I might change it over to Force One. So we might be hire 3 e-commerce sites.
And they have packages for CMSs on them.
I want to do this.
Shit. Oh, do it the way I mentioned. That would be dope.
No, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, actually, hit me up about that. I think that's some instructors that might be already building something. Either used one or built one already. So, yeah.
No, something else.
Okay. Oh, this isn't the one. Hold on. Oh, no, it is. Okay. Oh, did you do a yarn init on the application? Yeah. So let's see. Well, first, did you create the React app?
So I did the create REST app, and then I moved the source, deleted the source folder, and
Mm-hmm.
provided it into the practice.
Oh, actually, what am I doing? Let's have one of the TAs take a look at it, because otherwise I have to move on with the rest of the class. Who's available? Who's available? I think everyone's helping someone else right now. So whoever's next, if you can help out George over here. So over here, we were just basically switching out a folder within the Create React app, and we added our own folder structure for source. So this folder structure more or less follows like the folder structure that I have. with the index.js being the entry point, and the app.js being the first component that we're going to add. So if we do the same thing that they asked for in there, so what I'm going to do is, let's see. Goes in here. Here we go. So we're going to create that React app, and then what we're going to do is we're going to copy all the stuff that was in there. So if I go to React practice, and then I'm going to paste, and it's going to replace. So now if I go into React practice, and I run yarn start, instead of Fanny, I should now see hello world, right? So this is the sample application that we just created. And if I go to here and I open up the code, and again, I'm going to go slow. So if we have our README, it's just going to be the standard README that comes with it because of Create React App. The source is the only difference. We're now switching out how they want the client-side React to be. So index.js is just going to have this stuff. We're not going to use the register worker stuff. We're doing the same thing. Otherwise, though, we're rendering app into root. So into this root over here, we're rendering the app component. The app component this time is going to be using just a single component called hello React. So if you take a look at this, what syntax am I using here for functions? ES6 arrow function, right? So it's called the arrow function. Does it have any parameters? No. Therefore, the parameters in here are set to empty. This is equivalent to doing what in terms of if I were to write this in any other way, in ES5? Right, so these are the same. Again, if you put this on the same line, if it's only a single line, it implicitly has a return. So I think the biggest hiccup for students is like the ES6 syntax, right? So this is the same thing as this, except the arrow syntax also has the benefit of keeping up with what syntax, or keeping up with which context. Lexical scope meaning, oh, come on, guys. Lexical scope for arrow, what gets passed in? What context gets passed in? This. Easiest way to remember it. It's like this and like that and like this and right? Yeah, because you're pointing at yourself. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, so this is the hello React component. So this component is understood by React as being a specific thing. This is actually valid JSX. This is not JavaScript. This is JSX. So this is the component. Notice that we imported it from this location. And you guys know how to use this kind of stuff, right? Components, hello React. So where is this? How do I get to it? Components, and hello React. And all this is doing is right? So this is just a paragraph element that's saying return hello world. Right? That's why we have, and if I put If I put more lines, I actually have to do this. Let me do this. Hold on, I'm doing something stupid here. Okay. Render, return. Oh, render is here. Return is here. Return. Hold on, what am I doing wrong? Oh, hold on. Give me like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Give me a second. What did I do wrong? Return. No, that was correct. I did do that. I did that before, and it was giving me an error. I did this. Wait. Render with parentheses, parentheses, div. Oh, I'm an idiot. You know what it is? Well, first, stop yelling at me. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. I got this. It's return. Okay. I've done this so many goddamn times, and I keep forgetting every single fucking time. Okay. And then I have to wrap this in a div. God damn it. I can do this. All right. I remember how to program. Okay, there we go. All right. So after 8,000 tries, we finally have this added to it. So now if I open it, it says, yeah, okay. Yeah. So I already mentioned that. Why does it not do that? Remember I mentioned it over here? I did that over here. Yep, so if you do this on one line, then it implicitly has. Is anyone here? You guys, no one remembers? I just covered this like 3 minutes ago. Yes, if it's on one line, it implicitly has return, right? And that's why it's the same thing as this, right? So if I don't have it on one line, then I have to explicitly call return. And then I forgot another thing. If you have a GSX component, you have to wrap it in an element. So you can't have anything that's just P and H1. It has to be wrapped in something. So it's normally wrapped in a div. It's just if you're just returning one thing, then it's fine. If you're returning multiple things, then it has to be wrapped in a container. Yeah, one thing, like the one-offs are okay, but multiple things, it's like, no.
And you put it there, or you send multiple components to the React?
So if I want to send multiple components in the React app, I can now just call React app over and over and over. So if I wanted multiple hello Reacts, I can either loop through this and display multiples of these, because now I can just use it whenever I want. This is a self-contained, this is a component. Yeah, so I can if I wanted a different one, I could just send them whenever I want. Yeah. Well, no, it would just be added in here to this app. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So we would do. Come on, Gil. Let's see. What am I missing here? So same thing as I did with the last one, but now this is your entire application inside of app. Now I rendered 2 components. If I wanted to create another component, I can create it here. So I can say, let's just copy this one. Fuck. All right, I have to duplicate it. Let's just duplicate it. What is this in? 10? No, I did this in React practice. Let's just, I'll call this goodbye React. Goodbye React is gonna say bye world, bye. I'm gonna call this goodbye. And then I'm gonna export that as well. I'm gonna import it into here. And don't worry, this is all being recorded. Bye React from goodbye React, goodbye React. So if I go here, there we go. We just have 2 components now. You guys follow what I was doing there? All right. Fist of 5 on understanding this stuff so far? Ooh, not bad. Not bad. All right, cool. Yeah, so it's not too bad, right? And in terms of writing components, and I'm just gonna have to keep going here. So why don't we try and do the hello div, and then I'm gonna answer your question, and then I think Janice has a question.
You have like scripts for, you do like bootstrap and stuff?
Yeah,
Where would those go?
those would go in the index.html file.
Straight in?
Yeah, just CSS links. So if you wanted Bootstrap, but instead of using Bootstrap, we use what's called React Strap. Yeah, so you actually have to use it in a React way, or it's better to use in a React way. And I'll go over that if you guys want at some point, maybe like later. Shit. Go to hell. All right, so 03 student hello day. All right, calm it down. Everyone take it easy. Also on Shaper, I got another opportunity.
All right, a few more minutes. Well, there's a little bit, and essentially it's the same. Very, very simple. Of course, that's 60,000. Yeah, actually, those. No, it's oh, okay. You're like, no, you like what I know. Yeah. Like actually, it's like you're sponsored. It's one of those good chats. Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. You refresh it. No, on which Windows machine? It is for what did they install? And double check that. Check versions and then no. Yep. Oh, you didn't include gas. Well, that's your. You just put your foot down. You have to go over that. Are you running this? Okay. So this is the one you're running. Okay. Now. Yeah. So yeah, so change it to that. All right, let's go to the solution.
So let's just add to this application. Let's close that. Let's close that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the solution and I'm going to copy some of that and put it into our existing application. 03, I think. Damn it. Okay. So adding another component is just like we did before. So we just create the component. So I created hello div. Make sure you guys import React. Then we do the same things we did before. Make sure you guys wrap it in a container element and then put anything you want in there. And then make sure you export it. Make sure you import it. And then make sure you call it. Right? So write to it, wrap it in a container, export it, import it, and then call it. How was that one? Fist of 5. Okay. This one or this one? Oh, okay. You're Mr. Mime at this point. Oh, excellent. Okay, so some confusion, some happiness. So a lot of people are going to get confused by this. I wouldn't worry too much. We're going to get a lot of practice in. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like React Bootstrap because yeah, but the new way of doing it is React Strap. Yeah, I'm gonna show React Strap. So React Bootstrap, you guys could use. So to use React Bootstrap, it's actually not bad. All you need to do is include the CDN. This is not the latest CDN. Let me get Bootstrap CDN. Yes, there is. So you can include it via the NPM. And if you include it via the NPM, you just have to import it into your app. That might be confusing for people right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit it. So I'm just going to put this in the same application I had before. I'm just going to include it as a style.css, right? So you guys know how to do that. Link, boom, right? Now I can start using Bootstrap. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using some of the class names. So let's see. If I use in my app container, if I have hello div, I can give it a class. Remember, class name. I'm going to give it container. Is it lowercase or is it uppercase in JavaScript or in that's lowercase? Okay, in Bootstrap. There you go. Let's see. So already you see some styling, right? It's already putting it with the padding and all that stuff. Now, you could do this. You could give classes to all your individual elements. Yeah. So we're gonna move on. No. All right. So class name is the same thing as class, except remember, why are we using class name instead of class? Because JSX and what is reserved as a word? Class, as the class that you're creating, right? Where the hell is it? This one's not even using classes, but when we do use classes, that's a reserved word. So class name is just used as the alternative. And don't forget, this isn't actual HTML. This is JSX. So I know you're mocking like what a student would ask, but I already answered that question. If people were paying attention. All right. So I don't like this way of doing it because this is the old way. The new way is, in case anyone noticed in the application, let's go to, so if you go to my app.js, over here, it goes to home. And notice that you have familiar classes over here. Container, row, column, row. Instead, what I want you guys to do is research React Strap. React Strap is Bootstrap, but for React. So it's Bootstrap React components. And the documentation, look how nice it is. It's very nice. And look at all the documentation on it. It's like components. This is how to use it. Examples and components. So it's really nice. It shows you how to install it. It shows you examples. And it's very, very easy to use. I'll send this application out as a zip file for now. Boy, oh boy. No, I have to strip out some of the Salesforce stuff because some of it's sensitive information. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reconfigure it. But essentially, I want you guys to research React Strap. And I want you guys to try and implement a basic set of components from React Strap into the next activity. So instead of using regular Bootstrap, which I think you guys would have no problem with because you just add classes, right? You guys already know how to use Bootstrap. It's classes. They're classes, okay? Yeah, shut up. All right, so we add classes, and that's it. All right, so do that right now, and then that'll be it, and then we'll do review session. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So here, I'll send out the link. If we're gonna go into new stuff, I would prefer using like, there was React Dash Bootstrap, and now that's deprecated. Now it's React Strap. That's like the best one to use now. So go through that documentation. Try to implement one or two components. Yeah. Was it? Yeah, the freestyle components. Yeah. So let's go. Wow, I didn't know you were in charge. Get out of here. All right. So if you guys want to create a React Strap component, it's actually fairly simple. So we go through the instructions. So it says npm install React Strap, React, and React DOM. Now, do you need React and React DOM? No. You guys already have it, right? And do you need to do npm install? Yarn. So yarn add React Strap. Okay, so remember, whenever it says npm install, you guys are now instead going to do yarn. Okay, so from there, if I want to include anything from React Strap that's a component, all I do is import. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include it in this application that we made. Where's the dum-dum application? No, this is not the dum-dum application. Here's the dum-dum application. Okay. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to do yarn add. Oh, shit, wrong one. Yarn add import everything. Okay. Yarn add React Strap. And let me stop this also. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, well, I'm just go to this site, the one that I linked, and just copy and paste this stuff. From there, all you're going to do is find out which components you want to use and import them. So for example, let's say I wanted to use, I don't know, button. All you have to do is say import button. So let's use button from React Strap. And then I'm just going to include it over here. So I do button.
And that's only pulling back to that whole huge CSS.
Yeah, we don't need that CSS file. So now I can actually get rid of that CSS file from here. Well, it is installing the React Bootstrap though, so it has it in the Yarn package. So what I'm going to do is yarn start, and let's see if it worked. There we go, button with nothing in it, right? So now if I put some information inside the button, so for example, if I go here and I put color primary and I do all this crap.
But it's different. It's different. That should be bottom hyphen. The class is different.
That's, yeah. I mean, the classes, they'll give you the class. Actually, the classes should be exactly the same. It's like, it's just like, it's similar though. Like if you take a look at them, it's pretty much the same. Let's see, where the hell? Where did I put it? Oh, I put it here. Let's see. Okay, so now if I do this, I go here. And oh wait. Hold on. Hold on. What am I not including? Oh, did I do yarn install? Yarn install, I did. Okay, hold on. I included React strap. I included React button. That should be it. That's weird.
When you installed it, there was like a little bit more on that line. Well, you need to put
Props. No, you mean the prop types? No, I don't need to put those. I have it working in my other application. And this is literally all I did. And what? Oh, wait, installation. React strap, React app, add bootstrap. Here we go. I forgot. You have to install bootstrap.
This is where you're getting bootstrap.
Yeah. This is just the yarn add. Yep. I totally forgot about this. Yeah. Yarn add bootstrap and then. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to include this in my index.js file. I totally forgot that I set this up before. And then I do this, and now, oh, I stopped it, I forgot. And now, and now. There we go. Cool. All right, good job, guys. Yeah. All right.